My name is Jane Harper, and I wrote a book called The Dry. It's a murder mystery novel set in Australia, and I wrote it as part of the Curtis Brown Creatives online 3-month novel writing course. I used to work as a journalist, both in the UK and Australia. I really wanted to write a book, so I thought doing a course would help me, focus my attention on that. I wrote the book as part of the course, and then continued to revise it, and was lucky enough to get published. And now it's available in the UK, US, Australia, and several overseas territories as well. I wanted to write a novel. I didn't know how to go about it, and I read some other authors saying that they'd done courses. So I actually went looking for a course, and I wanted something that I could fit in around my full-time work. So I'd actually, before I'd come across Curtis Brown, the agency, and I think I subscribed to their mailing list, and I got an email saying that they would run this online course, and it was mirroring the courses that they ran in London, in the offices. I applied and was lucky enough to get on. I thought the Curtis Brown Creative Writing course was really good, and it was exactly what I needed at that time. For me, working as a journalist, I know I respond best to external deadlines, and I kind of needed someone, I think, to have some expectations that I would be working on this novel and submitting material when it was required, and getting involved in discussions, and actually getting involved. And for me, that's exactly what the Curtis Brown course did. It really it made me focus, and it put me in touch with other people who were also taking writing seriously, which further motivated me to take my own writing seriously, because I think in the past I'd started to wonder if I could actually ever write a novel, and I'd tried a few times and never really got anywhere, not even really past maybe the first chapter. And I couldn't quite work out how people actually wrote novels and how they got to the end of this sort of huge sum of words. Being in Australia, I never would have had the chance to do the course in London, so that already was a real bonus. And I think that was the case for a lot of people on my course. We had quite a sort of global group of writers, which was interesting in itself, because you saw a lot of different styles, and people were bringing quite different novels to the table. The online worked really well around my job. I worked quite long hours, and I was able to sort of dip in and out in my own time zone and whenever it suited me. And they were very flexible in terms of my one-on-ones with Lisa O'Donnell, because she was obviously in a different time zone, but we managed to connect at times that suited us both. And I think it was really interesting for me how close I think our group became. Like, you did actually feel like you knew these people. When I applied for the writing course, I hadn't written any of the book at all. I actually came up with the idea for my application, because you had to submit a synopsis and the first 3,000 words. So I really wanted to apply for the course, and I wanted to write a book. So I sat down and thought, what would I like to write? And I came up with this little idea for a sort of murder mystery set in Australia, and sent it off. And I was really thrilled when I got a place. And so I wrote the book pretty much the first draft really on the course as part of the coursework, and I got about halfway through, about 2 months into the course, and I remember thinking, I'm really not sure if I can finish this. It feels quite hard at this point. I'm not quite sure where I need to go. But I had 2 weeks off work, and I wrote down 14 things that needed to happen, 14 scenes that needed to happen from where I was to the end. And every day I made myself do one scene, and then sure enough, on the final day, I finished like the first draft of the book, which was amazing. It was such a liberating feeling. I couldn't believe I'd done it, and I was so excited to actually have got to the end, because that was something I'd never achieved before. Looking back now, it was nowhere near the end really, because it was only a 40,000 word first draft, and it was very rough, and it was needed a lot of work. But I think just having that mental success of actually getting to the end was a really big threshold to cross. And then I went straight back to the start and started revising it, and I did another draft, almost a complete another draft, and then another draft, and then so the course started in October 2014, and in April 2015, so 6 months later, I entered the third draft into an unpublished manuscript competition in Australia, and that was 65,000 words at that point. And I was lucky enough to win the competition on that, which was amazing, and it kickstarted the whole interest from agents and publishers. Then I did another draft, got up to 75,000 words, got my publishing deals. Did another draft, got up to 90,000 words, and the final book is 90,000 words. So it was a lot of rewriting and a lot of building on the core idea. So when I won the unpublished manuscript competition, that was really the catalyst for all the interest. So suddenly I got had every 10 minutes felt like my email was like pinging with like someone saying, "Can we read it? Can we read it?" Which was amazing. I mean, that was obviously what you dream of, really. And it was also a bit overwhelming though, because you don't want to make the wrong choice, and you want to make sure that your novel is well represented. So I already had the relationship with Curtis Brown through the course, so I felt very comfortable, with the agency and with the people I'd met there. I contacted Anna Davis and just let her know what was happening, and then Curtis Brown Australia had contacted me, and Alice here in the London office had contacted me. So we had a few discussions, and the best way to kind of spread the representation. I never really felt I had to consider going to, with anybody else, because I felt really comfortable with Curtis Brown. I felt they'd done a great job for me through the course and through all the information they'd given me, and I felt they would do a good job representing the book and were very enthusiastic. So so I was really pleased that they were willing to take it on and take it to the next level, really. So I'm working on a second novel. I've nearly completed that. That's just getting a few final edits, and it will be coming out in Australia in October 2017, so this year, and then I think in the UK and the US and some other territories the following year. It's again set in Australia, and it's another sort of mystery set in quite a isolated regional area, this time in heavy bushland. The main character from The Dry, Aaron Falk, returns. He's drawn into another mystery through the course of his work, and but it's a different cast of characters in a different setting, but it's quite similar in tone and feel to The Dry. So hopefully readers who enjoyed that book will also enjoy this book. It's great to be given the opportunity to write more novels. I guess is what I always hoped for and wanted. Everything has changed for me since I got my publishing deal. My life has sort of changed so, beyond recognition in a lot of ways. So I used to work full-time for a newspaper, but it got to the point where I couldn't really manage both commitments well. So I chose the novels. And it's been amazing for me to see the novel that was just for so long just something on my laptop, just typing away, and didn't really have any expectations for it, to be honest, beyond trying to finish it. And to see it on bookshelves now, in Australia and the UK and the US and in Europe, it's very surreal, but it's a really amazing feeling.
They reckon there's a formula for writing a novel. Do you agree with that?
I think to some degree. I think it depends what kind of novel you're writing. For me, I had the start and the ends right from the very beginning, so I knew exactly where it was going to go. And then once I had the skeleton of the storyline down, I sort of built on it and layered it a bit, and developed the character connections a bit more. And then you can add in a few more red herrings and cliffhangers and things like that to kind of keep people turning the pages.
Do you watch mysteries and things all the time on the telly?
Yeah, I do. It is my favourite genre. I like things with like a bit of a twist and keep you guessing, and sort of not quite sure where they're going. So that was why I wrote the novel, actually, in the way it was, because I just wanted to write something that I thought I personally would enjoy reading.
And of course, a lot of crime novels are set in the big cities, but you were inspired by working in Geelong, of all places.
Yeah, that's right.
What made you to sort of decide that would be the setting for something?
Yeah, well, so it's set in a fictional regional Victorian town, and it was because when I first moved back to Australia in 2008, I worked in Geelong, which is a great place. It's nowhere near as dysfunctional as the town in the book, I hasten to add. But it just gave me an insight to those kind of communities where people really do have to rely on each other for better or worse, often for better, but in this case maybe for worse, but just where there's maybe one road in, one road out, and there's a lot of pressure, and people maybe know a bit too much about their neighbours. And I just found the regional Victoria setting so atmospheric and such a natural fit for the storyline that I wanted to tell.
You were born in the UK but have spent time working in Australia. Do you think that influenced the way you saw regional Australia and your story?
Yeah, I think I think he did, yeah, because I think sometimes you maybe need that outsider's point of view and a little bit of arm's length stuff, sort of view of what's happening.
Our next guest appeared on Studio 10 just over a year ago to tell us about her debut novel. Since then, it's even attracted Hollywood's attention. Jane Harper's book, The Dry, has become one of the biggest thrillers of the year. It's about a crime investigation in a parched Australian farming town. The novel caught the eye of Reese Witherspoon and her producing partner Bruna Papandrea, who are planning to turn it into what is sure to be a Hollywood blockbuster. Here's what Ange Bishop heard from Bruna at the Emmys just last week.
We've also got another book which you got your hands on. It's called The Dry by Jane Harper.
Yeah, that's really exciting. We're actually going to get a script really soon, and so it's really moving fast now. And I'm so happy for Jane because that book has just set the world on fire, and, you know, that's always kind of the best part. So, yeah, I'm hoping to, we're hoping to make it next year.
And Jane has just released her follow-up novel, Force of Nature, and she joins us now. Welcome, Jane. You've certainly had an incredible year. Did you expect this really fast success that you've had?
It wasn't something I expected, but I'm obviously thrilled by the way the Dry was first received by booksellers and readers, and I love hearing people say that they passed it on and they recommend it to people because I just set out to I write books that I personally would like to read, so to hear other people enjoy them as well is is ideal.
Well, it's such a success for a first book, isn't it? I mean, it's just a great way to write, to have your first book picked up like this. Sometimes when you have that kind of success, it's difficult to write the second book. So was it difficult to do this one?
It was a different experience writing the second book, but I was a professional journalist for 13 years before I wrote The Dry. So I've been, writing my whole career really, and I'm quite used to working under deadline and writing under pressure. So I really drew quite heavily on on all that training and really focused whenever I had a chance to write.
Do you need a deadline to write?
I do like to have deadlines. I sort of create artificial deadlines sometimes. That helps me a lot. I mean, it comes back again to me writing the kind of books that I enjoy reading. Whenever I write anything on both books, I really thought, what would I like to happen and what kind of books would I like to to pick up, and that's really what I focus on when I'm writing myself.